We talk a lot about gear on this channel. Amps, DACs, turntables, speakers, all that good stuff, but we rarely talk about music. I'm going to talk about my favorite rock and roll albums, so sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's rock. If you want to see more free content like this, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I do this for a living, so it means the world to me to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. This record right here probably is in more people's living room, offices, wherever. It's probably in your house right now. Led Zeppelin 4. There's arguably a lot of awesome Led Zeppelin albums, if not all of them. However, there is one song that everybody knows. I think the band didn't even like to play at the end of their career. It is Stairway to Heaven. It's long, 7 minutes, 55 seconds, and it got tons of radio play even when I was a kid. This thing came out in 71, I believe, which preceded my birth by about 5 years. But yet, it seemed like every teenage boy went through a Led Zeppelin phase, or at least was introduced into Led Zeppelin around the junior high era. And for me, it stuck with me. This is one of my first vinyl records that I purchased after I got my turntable set up. And front to back, it's a record that I can listen to over and over again. And all of the records I'm going to talk about today can be listened to front to back. Basically, every song on them, in my opinion, is great. How are they recorded? Well, I don't know. I don't really care because there is one that's not recorded very well. But the music moves me emotionally. May not be the best recorded thing on the planet, but most of these are awesome. Listen to the songs off of Led Zeppelin 4. Black Dog, Rock and Roll, The Battle of Evermore, Stairway to Heaven, Misty Mountain Hop, Four Sticks, Going to California, and When the Levee Breaks. Most of you watching this video can probably sing along with 75% of the tracks off of that record. It's amazing that so many great songs came out of one record. You could say that about a lot of Led Zeppelin records, but for me, Led Zeppelin 4 was really the one that is just jammed and probably the most popular when it came to radio play. I could be wrong though. Put it in the comments if I'm wrong. My favorite record from my favorite band, Master of Puppets, came out in '86. Has 8 tracks on it, and the shortest track on this record is Damage Inc., which comes in at 5 minutes and 32 seconds. This record for me was an epic journey into heavy metal. I had listened to Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning already, but it was Master of Puppets that really sealed the deal for me and Metallica. It's heavy, it's fast, it's recorded much cleaner. It has, in my opinion, it has a lot better production value than Ride the Lightning or Kill 'Em All. These songs are long, they're involved, there's a ton of tempo changes, almost like a heavy metal rock thrash opera. Go through the songs. Battery, 5 minutes, 12 seconds long. My favorite song off the whole record. A lot of people say Master of Puppets is the best song off this record, but Battery for me, a little bit heavier, a little bit harder. Came in with the acoustic guitar, switched to the electric guitar. Just for me was the song that really defined heavy. And Battery was a song that had the last verse, and Master of Puppets, the last verse just seemed like it didn't need to be there. You thought, as a listener, I thought that song was going to end. And then they put another verse on there, which it's just awesome. All right, Battery, Master of Puppets, The Thing That Should Not Be, Welcome Home Sanitarium, beautiful, almost indulgent song. Disposable Heroes, Leopard Messiah, which they don't play a lot live, but when they do, it brings the house down. Orion, which a lot of people have probably heard. There's no vocals on that song. 8 minutes, 27 seconds long. And then Damage Inc. I think Battery, Master of Puppets, Welcome Home Sanitarium, and Orion are probably the most well-known songs of this record. But front to back, this thing, whenever I put it on, I listen to the whole thing. Even when it's on CD, even when I'm streaming. This version sounds pretty good. This is the remastered version, the Walmart exclusive. Spectacular. My favorite record of all time. This is the record that killed glam metal. Killed off Motley. Well, they didn't kill off Motley Crue. But Motley Crue, Rat, all of that glam, Poison, all of that stuff, and even Van Halen, I think, ended when this record came out. This is Nirvana, Nevermind, and it is absolutely jammed. First track is Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is the song that killed glam metal. Three guys, obviously, you probably know the story about Kurt Cobain. They had a couple of records before this. Bleach, I think, is a great record. Put out by Sub Pop Records. Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom, Come As You Are, Breed. Breed is probably not the most well-known song. Lithium, Polly. Territorial Pissings, Drain You, Lounge Act, Stay Away, On a Plane, Something in a Way. So I think Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom, Come As You Are, Something in the Way, probably the biggest songs off of this record. But it is one record that I listen to in its entirety every time I put it on. Came out in 91, which is my sophomore year in high school. And I was so glad that this music came out because it was really a sea change, in my opinion, for rock and roll music. I'm sure many of you have purchased this record a few times. But for me, it would definitely be one of the 5 records that I would take with me on a desert island. This one is probably not going to be guessed by hardly anybody, but front to back, again, this record is one of my favorites. And to me, this is an album that I think holds up with this artist's best records of all time. That's Marilyn Manson, The Pale Emperor. You may remember Killing Strangers, probably the most popular song off this record. That was used in the first John Wick film. This record, much slower, much less aggressive, but I think lyrically it is so far superior to any music that he's put together. And there's a cohesiveness to this record. I think the songwriting's spectacular. And if you've never listened to this record, I would recommend getting it and just turning it on. You're going to recognize Killing Strangers. Deep Six, Third Day of a 7-Day Binge, The Mephistopheles of Los Angeles, Worship My Wreck, Slave Only Dreams to Be King, The Devil Beneath My Feet, Birds of Hell Awaiting, Cupid Carries a Gun, Odds of Even, Day 3, Fated, Faithful, Fatal, Fall of the House of Death. I think even if you're not into rock and roll, you could listen to this record and appreciate it. I think it's Marilyn Manson matured. It's interesting to have listened to his music from the beginning and what it sounds like now. It's just a great record. Marilyn Manson, I think, has had some issues with behavior, but this record, you can't argue with this record. I think anybody that appreciates music could listen to this and appreciate this record. Tubular Bells. It's not really a rock and roll album. Maybe it is. Anyway, one of my buddies, one of my patrons, Dan, Digital Dan, sent this to me, and I love it. I just throwing it in here for fun. At some point, they say Glockenspiel. It's the guy from Monty Python. There would be no rock and roll list that would be complete without AC/DC Back in Black. I wonder how many copies of this are out there. Well, I know how many are out there because it's one of the best-selling rock and roll albums of all time. Listen to these songs. Back in Black, Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill, Giving the Dog a Bone. What do you do for money, honey? Right now, you probably are singing the lyrics to this. Rock and roll ain't noise pollution. Let me put my love into you. You shook me all night long. Shake a leg. Have a drink on me. I legitimately think almost every one of these songs was a single and got radio play. What can you say about this record? Well, I can say this about this record. This pressing sounds like garbage. So normally I like vinyl better than I like streaming or CD. Not this one. This one's really tough. I have to put some major tone controls on this. Very thin sounding. I'm not sure which pressing this one is. It came out in 1980. If you know of a Back in Black pressing that is awesome, please let me know. This one I think I got at Walmart. This is not a Walmart exclusive, but I bought it at Walmart. This record, I think, changed things for everyone. Everywhere. It's the self-titled Metallica album. Many people call it the Black Album, but it's just Metallica, which is interesting because this was their 5th record. This album really brought thrash metal into mainstream, and some people would say that this record is not a thrash metal record, and many of the most ardent and original fans of Metallica really didn't like this record. because they felt it was a sellout. To me, I think it's just an artist that is taking their music and making sure that it's heard by the most people. It's much different than Ride the Lightning, than Kill 'Em All, than And Justice for All. It had epic ballads. Metallica had already done ballads with Fade to Black, but this one, you have Nothing Else Matters, The Unforgiven. And The Unforgiven there's been like 3 or 4 different songs. Unforgiven 1, Unforgiven 2, Unforgiven 3. But listen to the songs on this record. Enter Sandman. Of course, everybody knows Enter Sandman. And to me, that's not really... I don't really love that song. I mean, I listen to it. I bob my head to it. Definitely not my favorite song off this record. Sad But True. Probably my favorite song off this record. That song is so heavy. That riff, and it's slower. Oh, it's just awesome. Holier Than Thou. The Unforgiven. Remember that video? That video was awesome. It's like a little mini movie. Wherever I May Roam. Use it all the time on my test track playlist. Don't Tread on Me. Through the Never. Wonderful song. Nothing Else Matters. Of course, everybody knows that. Of Wolf and Men. The God That Failed. That is probably the deepest cut off of this record. A lot of people don't know that song very well. If you haven't heard it, you need to listen to it because the bass line, the beginning, Jason Newsted's bass line, absolutely spectacular. My Friend of Misery and The Struggle Within. Again, front to back, I put this record on. I'm listening to the entire thing. It is amazing. It is the record that changed rock and roll. It took thrash metal and brought it into the zeitgeist. And some people will consider Metallica to be the greatest rock and roll band of all time. I know people are going to say the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. But if you're of my vintage, I don't think nobody can deny Metallica's influence on rock and roll music. Couple more, then we'll be done. Audioslave. This record came out in 2002, so it's 21 years old, which is just amazing because when I think of this record, I don't think of it as being 21 years old. I don't know how old I think it is, but it's amazing to me that this thing is as old as it is. Some of you are not going to know this record. I would highly recommend getting it and listening to it. So this is Chris Cornell and a lot of members from Rage Against the Machine. And I think Audioslave is one of those bands. I think Audioslave is better than Soundgarden. Cochise, which is a song that was in Talladega Nights. I think a lot of people would recognize that song. They may not know it by name, but they'll know the song when they hear it. Show Me How to Live, very popular song. Gasoline, What You Are, Like a Stone, slower, more melodic. Love that song. Set It Off, yummy. Shadow of the Sun. That song was used in a Michael Mann movie with Tom Cruise, shot in Los Angeles. I mean, a lot of movies, but it's set in Los Angeles. Shot in digital because at the time they were shooting in really low light. So it's got a different vibe and a different look to it. But Shadow of the Sun is probably my favorite song off this record and was in that movie. I Am the Highway. Another very popular song. Exploder, Hypnotize, Bring 'Em Back Alive, Light My Way. Getaway Car, The Last Remaining Light. Front to back, another great record. And it's hard to imagine like them topping this record. I read an article that Audioslave and Chris Cornell's estate have come to an agreement or settled out of court. Something happened, and there's going to be more Audioslave music coming out, which is exciting. What albums did I miss? In your opinion, what are the greatest rock and roll albums? Please put them in the comments. We got a couple of honorable mentions, though. Thin Lizzy, Jailbreak, another just jam-packed record. And, of course, Led Zeppelin 3. Really, any Led Zeppelin record could be included in this list, but those are my all-time favorite records for the most part. I mean, there's some other ones, but rock and roll, those are the ones that I'll put on and I'll just listen to the whole thing. Tell me your favorite records. So if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every Sunday night. We have Patreon-only Zooms, Patreon-only Discord, Patreon-only Facebook group. You can also use the links in the description. Those are affiliate links, which means if you click and you buy, I do get a commission, but it doesn't cost you anymore, so it's a great way to support the channel. You can also sign up for Amazon, Rune, or Tidal. Links in the description. Click sign up. They do have a trial period. Even if you quit, I do get a couple of dollars. You can also buy me a cup of coffee. Down at the bottom of the video, there's a thanks button. Give me a couple of bucks, but don't feel compelled to buy me anything. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen to one of these awesome records and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.